A brief synopsis of Christian 21's information and revelations for the great spiritual awakening of mankind, A the Lizard of Oz, in 3 parts. For children to understand Part 2 by Leon George. Sinclair partial audio link. HTTP URL. Continued from Part 2. Happiness is not something to be found, so there is no point trying to find happiness. For happiness is how you see yourself in the world that you live in, how you experience life as you live it. Happiness is not a point of view, it's a journey from birth to grave, and the way that you interact on that journey, the experiences that you encounter, and how you deal with those experiences, both negative and positive experiences, will carve out the new in this life. Most people are too busy merely existing to employ a moment's thought on why we are collectively in this situation. A situation of saber-rattling war talk, a bizarre scenario from a dystopian movie where the public roll their own sleeves up for a bioweapon. It's a strange place, this new reality we find ourselves waking up to. There is nothing normal about it whatsoever. It is literally quite dystopian, seen from all angles that you view it from. A reality where the paint is flaking off the walls of the old paradigm, like the cold, damp walls of a pub toilet in England in the 1970s. Fakery is peeling away in front of your very eyes. And now at last I am seeing proof that the sheep and sleepers are actually getting it. This is evidenced quite a few times this week alone. A great video of a woman researching SRA and Satanism, cannibalism and anthropophagy, flesh eating. She is being filmed speaking at an event, by the look of it, explaining her research. She then says something that has transformed several of my sleepy friends' perspectives on the lockdown, that they just can't see happening, for some bizarre reason. Because this woman mentions a verifiable fact, a shocking and easily checkable fact. The fact being that there is only one state in America that it is illegal to eat another person. So, my proof-seeking pals have checked this fact, and they are stunned. Now they're waking up at last. Only one state, Idaho, is it illegal to eat people. Put that in your proof pipe and smoke it. Even the small, seemingly inconsequential decisions are made at the highest levels of Satanism and beyond, into the lower echelons of the parasitic power structure. Let me give you an example. Driving down the motorway or dual carriageway, you are all traveling at the speed limit of 70 miles per hour here in the UK, and all of a sudden, and for no reason, the speed limit signs tell you that it's now a 40 miles per hour zone. Stay with me. Also roadworks with thousands of cones reducing the 4 lanes into just 1 lane, or maybe 2 lanes. Yet the cones have been there for months, and no roadworks have begun. Or restrictions on the purchase of more than 2 packets of paracetamol. You see, all these seemingly insignificant issues that we brush aside in conversation as merely an inconvenient problem that form a part of our modern society, for a plethora of reasons, usually public safety is one of them. But this is not what is going on. Don't forget that there are 100 reasons for every decision that a demon makes, all of which are highly malevolent, and this is no different. Because to understand the higher purpose behind the secrets of Satanism and the power of illusion, the trust is bestowed on these lower minions in charge of the planet, being the royal families of the world. Yes, these formerly powerful people like the Duke of Edinburgh, the Queen of England, Yitzhak Rabin, Ariel Sharon, Putin, Kim Jong-un, etc. These parasitic puppets are the lower-rankery floor management teams in charge of making sure the farm and slaughterhouses all run smoothly, and that the reset population are having enough children for the target quota for the next reset. These royal families are the dregs of the draconian species. These royals were the lower tiers of their respective parasitic groups, like a shit job that no one wants to do back home in Draconia. So they get the working-class Draco bitches to do all the work. That's who the Queen of England was, a low-level parasitic bitch from the very gutter of her miserable society. It's like taking an angry little roadman out of jail and making him king of another species in another world, giving him control of all their societies and the entire planet's resources. Similar to Joffrey Lannister from the TV hit Game of Thrones. That was our royal families, and also all the other royal families. They are only royal because they were the first true Terran ET and human souls to sell out, right back at the start of the occupation. All that happened was that these first ever sellouts, selling their souls to be better than their fellow species, were siding with a particular parasitic race. So in the UK, it was a Draco ruling species who the vessel lineage of Queen Elizabeth sold out to way back. And in other countries, it was the custodian species in charge. Israel, I think, is custodian owned, check with Christian. Other countries had a carve up with the Anunnaki, etc., etc. So these different and highly negative species had the resources of the land and the hearts and minds of the populations they ruled over. Even back then, the original sellout would rarely be seen again in public after selling their souls, because the hosted demon or Draco, for instance, will not want to be engaging in disgusting human trivia, game shows, governmental meetings, and socialite parties, unless kids are on the menu, that is. But how? And more importantly, why would a ruling parasitic species of highly intelligent ETs, who are here for your adolescent kids, be interested in how fast you can, or cannot, drive your vehicle down the freeway? Because when new sold souls are brought into the fold, or especially these days during this last reset, those climbing the Freemasonic ladder of success are informed of the new and special information that they are now in receipt of. Depending on what degree of Freemasonry they are situated at, they will find out stuff that the populace do not ever get to understand. At the higher levels above 29th degree, they are privy to things such as the true shape of the earth, or that death is fake, and is actually merely a technology, as opposed to a supernatural phenomenon. They are given gifts for service such as the major soul sellers will never experience illness, never get sick, never die, always have their past life memories, always be in great health and reborn each time in the full knowledge that they will again be the elite for all of eternity, with vast pots of cash, licensed to kill, literally, above the law, for all of time. Yet they were lied to also. What a shock, not? Depending on what degree of Freemasonry they are in, they will know the boundaries of their level of security clearance, via the current degree of the craft of Freemasonry that they reside in. They all know each other, but for those first meeting, they have a series of special and once secret handshakes and visual signs, like the painted and now photographed hidden hand, where you will notice all the historical and present child killers are pictured with one hand in their jacket lapel or waistcoat. This is the hidden hand of Freemasonry, and it lets other Freemasons know that you are also a Freemason if you are pictured or memorized with this symbolism. It's all very simple, really, it's just different. You can tell it's true because it makes complete sense and explains all the mysteries that are now no longer mysteries. So, in the same way that people can't understand how all films show some truth, and people do not understand how this would be policed, considering that there are millions of playwrights, movie script writers, theatrical authors, potential and budding film school graduates, songwriters, etc. And clearly, they do not all understand the script of the Luciferian Empire. Now, let's reflect that concept into the cerebral arena of our traffic speed limitation and road cone situation mentioned above, because they are policed by the same mechanism, the same Freemasonic procedure and process of filtration to the fruition of the Freemasonic endgame. As what seems stupid to the taxpayer is merely a cabal chess move in the competition of the morally corrupt souls, whose sole purpose is the falsification of reality, bent, melded, and woven in fake, a concept designed to mock you, subjugate you, shorten your lifespan, and create misery for their prized louche energy. You see, the custodians were the overall owners of this occupation, for it was them who stole the keys to the kingdom and usurped positivity, to steal the schematic of the architecture of the scaffolding of physicality, to then create the Anunnaki, or Anunnaki, and a whole bunch of other child-killing and highly vicious and aggressive, yet highly intelligent and very necessary alien life to help them. The custodians were just one species, the first to turn bad, I might add, in the planned subjugation of the entire gateway. They would never have managed it, for the source of all creation already saw it coming before the ordainment of physical matter even happened. So, before I digress further, let me explain the 40 miles per hour issue and the traffic cones situation, and how that could possibly relate in any way to Hollywood movie scripts and the popular songs in showbiz. The showbiz industry is owned. It's owned by the same elite who own everything else, from sport to manufacturing, from industry to finance, from history to religion, from education to travel, from e-government to local government, etc., etc. And these cunts are all singing from the same Freemasonic hymn sheet as everyone else is, at their personal level of the craft of Freemasonry, and what that degree of service allows as information exclusive to that degree's structure. So, whereas in the movie industry, you may have budding film script writers dissecting a published book into a film or inventing their own story, whether that is a A-B movie or a Hollywood blockbuster, assume that they know about Satanism and Freemasonry. Now understand that if they have written a great movie script or a potential blockbuster, if they are fresh out of movie school or not and have natural talent, that will be obvious by the style of their work. Now understand that this can go one of several ways for them. They could hand that story over to a big movie company, or they could hand that story over to a publisher, or they could hand that story over to an agent in the industry, an agent that will try their best to get it recognized and funded, or you could crowdfund the story and make it according to the budget received with the help of your pals who graduated with you. The person who created this awesome new storyline, story, play, book, etc., if they are not already bloodline family as an illegitimate or legitimate member, meaning if they are official Rothschilds or a possibly subgroup of bastard Rothschilds as in, if they are general public, their script will be read, pondered, isolated for possible breaches in allowable information, and depending on who they are, their work will either be stolen and given to an authorized scriptwriter who is a 33rd degree Freemason, or given to a bloodline member who wants a career in script writing. The choice is yours. But, and it's a huge but, by being naive to attain respect, a future in your chosen industry, and a comfy lifestyle where stress and financial worry are not going to be something that you and the partner of your dreams, who you have not physically met yet, will have to concern yourselves with so that you can work for a few more years, and then retire early in the log cabin lifestyle of your cerebrally furnished ideological future, as ordained to you via the custodians. Schematic for this personality type of your category of persona, and that person's physical desires, ideal home, and natural lifestyle envisaged for selection based on those parameters. Every main outlet in the movie industry is, as is also with the police, local government, the police, education system, etc., all run completely with Freemasonic oversight. Period. And the reason for the 40 miles per hour speed reductions, thousands of traffic cones marking where work will one day in the future be started, is only there for your inconvenience and the harvest of louche energy from your actual dissatisfaction of being stuck in 2-hour traffic jams for no reason whatsoever. It's all orchestrated by the overall knowledge set of the Freemasonic power structure as a whole. They all know the limitations of their degree of Freemasonry and the boundaries of the craft's perimeters at that degree, and they must adhere to that ideology in every single decision they make. This is the glue of the parasitic mechanism of control and subjugation. The parasites can't stand any human, let alone the souled souls. The parasites despise them, but they have to keep them sweet epoch to epoch, because they need the elite class to remain where they are for the whole luring mechanism to function properly. Because when you have a family or a group of people who have big houses, nice jewelry, clean clothes every day, and stables of hundreds of stallions, instead of a patch of grass and one donkey, this creates the desire for all the poor people to wish to emulate that luxury in the ease of lifestyle that sustains it. And back then in the beginning, they didn't need NPCs because the population wasn't large enough to require NPCs. So instead, the poor people would mostly do what they do now, which is to desire to have more, seeing what's clearly on offer in the paradigm's parameters, why not? But when the population started growing exponentially to create more blood bags as aka your children, then NPCs were required to be simulation furniture stocking fillers for the new control gearing mechanism, being the fact that new types of society were being created. Democracies and the voting system. You see, there were many tricks and traps. They get bored treating you with the same toolbox. They need excitement and the thrill and excitement of new ways to subjugate, plus the personal satisfaction at what they are doing and how utterly oblivious we were to it all. Options, 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 and yet more options that which you have to choose from, a raft of decisions. Price structures conclude these decisions for the masses. Yet for the rich, they have preferences, opportunities, and selections because they don't need to ask the price. They just want it no matter what, and the poor desire what the rich throw away. It's utterly ridiculous, yet it is this way now. It's not normal, and it's not staying this way for much longer, I assure you. The internet itself is also many, many things for EAN, has 100 reasons for every decision that make, all of which are malevolent. The internet's a money laundering tool for the elite for hundreds of billions of dollars a day. It's a way of recruiting and finding members of the public who will kill if given anonymity. It's a way of selling drugs, arms, child trafficking, and organ harvesting, a way of highly believable censorship dressed up as fact checkers, the springboard for the new and previously demonic AI way of life, a life that they had planned for us, being a human 2.0. The internet's main goal was luring everyone into the eighth and last reset, with the golden carrot of the quantum initiative, the forgiveness of all debt. Forgiveness. No less. Laugh out loud. You never owed a penny to anyone in the first place. Wake up. It was all yours to start with. Please wake up. The QFS was the ultimate lure, being spearheaded by Satan incarnate, the Antichrist himself. Antichrist being anti-a against and Christ a Christos a crystal a the retention of information. Y'all suck that shit the fuck up, hear me now. The third density internet was for many knowable reasons, but it is only Christian 21 who understood, and more importantly remembered the unknowable reasons. For the unknowable reasons are as the much-needed glue-like proofs that the naysayers and tomato throwers demand, in the absence of intellect and the abhorrent neglect of wisdom-based understanding necessary for personal development. For the unknowable reasons are what etherically the internet itself actually replaces in the higher densities, for all things are created in the higher densities. So what could the internet be mimicking in a negative and restrictive way, while simultaneously being able to facilitate all the other reasons that a demon has for every decision it makes? The internet, or the net, is the demonic and negative mirror to the inversion of the cube memory and the law of one, being itself synonymous with what you call here the Akashic records, because i.e. prior to 72,000 years ago, roughly, we all, communicated and understood physical life by tuning into the law of one's perquisite for all of the wisdomatic information coalesced by the entire gateway itself. That means all of the individual worlds on Gateway 10, and also all of the higher densities, access the knowledge of the lower densities libraries of information, and are all on the same page, as it were in the unification of perfection. Everything we need to know comes to us as we need to know it, as Christian explained 4 years ago. Lee, what you need to know comes to you as you need to know it. Same as for me now, but I'm working with a back-engineered version of that for third density. So I mean that what I need to know comes to me as I need to know it because Kelo or Eldo nudge me or guide me. Or sometimes I see it as going to the library in my head, a place where when asked a question about any subject, I scan through the books on the shelves in my mind and locate the book I need. It's kind of like that, mate. Really. But this is a clever technological intervention for Christian alone. No one else will have this attribute. It doesn't make sense that anyone else would be able to do this. Because Christian 21 is not lying when he says, not too abashedly, that his consciousness was pretty early on in the universal framework of creation. This doesn't make him better than anyone else. It makes him much older than most other souls. Obviously, Christian's mother, Celestia, or Celestia, and his father, Raphael, or Raphael, are much older themselves, but they were literally in a small group of the first ever souls that left the source of creation itself. So please forgive them for not personally attending the Great Awakening themselves. For if they came in here as well, we would all be truly proper fucked, because there would be no one at headquarters to save us, we'd all be proper fucked. So their kids said they would come in here for a laugh, just for 178,000 Earth years, learn a bit of hardship, get their wife and kids raped and killed in front of them almost every single fucking life they lived, all this heartache and abject misery. Well, look at it on the bright side, it puts hairs on your chest. I mean, there isn't anywhere else where this will ever happen again, because there will never be the opportunity for any parasites to flourish again. Because thanks to heroes such as Helen Morris and William Morris, plus Admiral Butler, the fucking legend. The poor cunt must have shit himself in a big way when he breached the ice wall for the first time and exited Realm 3 into Realm 2 via the portal at what became known of as Morris Pass after the event in 1776, from memory. I think, or was it 1778? I forget. It doesn't matter, anyway. So, the bright side is that no other souls, save the 500 million who experienced this depravity for so long, trapped in here with only lies, subterfuge, hate, depression, loneliness, horror, murder, raped and killed over and over, no other soul can ever learn this directly through experience-based understanding, because it will never again happen. So even the sleepers who had 2 COVID shots and started naysaying and tomato throwing at Christian and his information and revelations, for which is so blatantly the end of the great spiritual awakening, even these groups of current haters, when they have healed in the future, they too will be seen as absolute heroes for what they endured here for so long. And don't forget that the haters and naysaying tomato throwers who are not NPCs, these are the original Terran human souls who were the crop. They have had only misery and suffering for many thousands of years and have had many, many lives indeed. So you don't chastise a rape victim for her eating disorder, do you? Same with these cunts, the sleepers, don't call them cunts, because it's not their fault. Your understandings of what is considered by some as reality, and the 6 senses that these conclusion-based understandings have been managed, designed, augmented, and implemented to your post-1728 genetically manipulated vessel's actual DNA. Your understanding of touch, smell, sound, sight, taste, and your non-existent extrasensory perception, or ESP, are an innovation of the custodian species and the Anunnaki or Anunnaki, aided by the Greys, headed by the Mitra or Mitrax, species of master geneticists in their respective density. For the record, the Matrax species of Grey are the tall, really angry-looking motherfuckers. You may have seen a coin from the Mars colony. That was the Matrax's queen bee. The Giants took that cunt out in a battle, which is why the Greys fell out big time with the Anakin custodians, because they said they would look after the Greys and protect their main man. They reneged on that deal, forcing the Greys to look to the Draco for partnership options. This is when the Anunnaki and the custodians started manufacturing their own subservient species of Grey ET, required for their advanced knowledge on the genetics of all known species. Listen, Christian stands there reeling off complicated information about ET culture off the bat, in reply to instantaneous questions posed in circumstances that always require immediate and live answers. Inability to provide an immediate answer would generate popular cynicism in no time at all. Always, these questions are random, unusual, or strange questions, and queries about every conceivable topic, from the societal structure of the Anunnaki, or any of the major parasites, their technological development, how they interact, and how that power base is distributed amongst the warring factions of parasitic species involved in the great children's futures. What technology they all have, and who is better at what types of technology than the other parasitic species. How that tech was assimilated into their negative cultured and back-end negative version of its previously positive function or functions. As is obvious now with all that we know, all good is subverted to bad. All high-frequency positivity is dampened to as low a frequency as possible, even employing the passage of time to spread the city's negative and dampening field as the village turns into a town and a town into a city over a few hundred years. It's all a process, it's all designed, and it was all lies until Christian 21 came along. Now people are starting to realize this now. The truthers are losing grip on the narrative's sand as it drains out of the hourglass of the awakening process. Christian's followers are skyrocketing, and as people see the light of reality and feel the sense and security in his information, that cost no physical barter, an illumination of positivity that cost nothing, yet paid only with the currency of attention, of cerebral intention, a focused attention with intention to the situation of one's own plight, and the plight of your family and cherished friends. The crossing of palms with silver need not have happened, for the 3D tears of redemption were the mixed fears of ascension, and a redemption that was emancipated by the liberators of a lost society. We assume that these liberators originated from the stars, in other galaxies, parsecs away, separated by light years of distance, eons of understanding, and oceans of conceptual perception. Yet, if you went to the southern tip of Chile in South America and shouted at the top of your voice, through a megaphone, oi, no neck, you'd probably get hit in the face with a snowball thrown by a bleme from Realm 2. That's how close intelligent life actually is. All intelligent life is situated right next to you on the flat plane of Gateway 10. Christian 21's information and revelations is highly unique. None of it has ever been written about before in the history of all time here, since the occupation first started. No one has known these truths for at least 72,000 Earth years. Let that sink in. The electorate desired to hedge their ascensional redemptional bets. Instead of going within to seek the purest answers, they looked externally to other people informing them of what was going on in the world. And other people are all feeding directly off of CIA, MI.6, KGB, or Mossad intelligence agencies' desired and expected expectations. Because of the TV programming, and the education system's lure of a bright future, combine your favorite TV shows with the accolades presented for understanding the lessons presented to you, and the mind's eye will do the rest. All of your aspirations will be born from this cauldron of deceit. Your deepest desires are merely a concoction of a flawed and incorrect education and belief system. And unfortunately, everything you desire stems from this cerebral landscape of options. Agencies authorize publications, party-line stance, or sometimes dressed up as a conspiracy theories, sometimes as out-of-place artifacts, or OOPs. There is every conceivable distraction to take your mind gently away from anything real or true. This knowledge becomes your cherished wisdom with awards, tributes, and honors. After all, how can your education be fake if it's provided you with the life you always wanted and with the career that you always desired? Fake information surely can't be used to create a stable future, or can it? In theory, no, it can't. Yet here it has been used to create a stable future for the custodians Anuc, Alpha, and Omicron Draco. Their families all like to eat human children, too. It's always going to be just 3 tears running down the cheeks of the clowns in the queue for their redemption appointments, blinkered by the forgiveness of all debt, and the freedom of financial security forevermore. But there is no form of finance or currency where we are all going, well, we aren't all. The NPC simulation furniture, stocking filler public, the people who do what the government says whenever advised, also all devoutly religious people, plus actual whole countries. These people will phase out of this overlay during the final stages of the fake alien invasion, and this is what is shown in religious texts as the Rapture, Judgment Day, plus a few other colloquial axioms. It sounded very far-fetched to me growing up as a kid with a strong desire to understand if God was a real thing, and if so, then why so many different gods over the ages? The notion that Jehovah's Witnesses were expecting to be raptured at some point in the distant future was not something I could subscribe to. Because of the education I had and the circumstances for my adolescent years, my mind would always wander off somewhere automatically if I was not stimulated from whatever else I may have been doing at the time. And whilst quietly researching all religions over the years, all I could conclude was that it was all related to ETs as opposed to gods. I did not realize that all these ETs masquerading as gods were all negative and parasitic beings. But I digressed as usual. The rapture, the final day of judgment, even the historical notion from the Egyptian stucco plaster reliefs showing how the Ka or Ba, being the spirit and the soul, was weighed for purity. If your soul weighed more than a feather in ancient Egyptian folklore, then you were fucked, basically. And those amazingly executed stucco masterpieces of ancient Egyptian art portray these scenes from inside the tombs of the Anuc pharaohs' hidden mausoleums, crypts, and vaults. As we said before, the Valley of the Kings, for instance, wasn't hidden there to keep the treasure safe. It was hidden there to keep all the child-killing demon-hosted ruling Anunnaki royal families, yet now deceased cadavers, far out of the way. They bound and mummified the vessels, and also everything that this person owned, including their servants, the utensils that they ate with, and the food that went on the plates. It was all sealed away inside these sepulchres. Even the pharaonic pet cats were mummified in case any negative or demonic energy was able to leave there ever again, desiccated in salt, with sacred amulets bound in woven linen to help contain the demonic energy's future release. The Valley of the Kings was a dumping ground for a highly toxic dynastical monarchy of child-killing and hosted human vessels. But as with literally everything else in Paradigm, being a dystopian reflection of the actual nature of reality, medications, TV shows, children's cartoons, purposely toxic air and water, fake education system, fraudulent judicial system, it's all presented to you as good for you. Reality has only been presented to you in the most subtle wedges in fantasy films and sci-fi series, in every single Hollywood blockbuster ever made and in music and in books, placed there for your eyes to take in the full knowledge that you will never see the truth in it. Most children, when I was a lad, were weaned on the children's stories of the past 100 years. Alice in Wonderland, Grimm's Tales, The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, Chicken Little, and a series of books that I forget the name of. They were magical and told of strange lands with talking trees, strange creatures, and they even showed a small fellow traveling through a porthole. These are all truth outlets for the in plain sight necessitation to the symbolism of Satanism and the science of the occult. So yes, there are small parts of religious texts that do actually explain at least some truth. The weighing of the soul and the rapture, for instance, are both real, yet the allegorical set of weighing scales are obviously symbolic for the pictographical representation. Marmar's note. End of audio version. The greedy and selfish patrons of this modernistic Hunger Games society have, as they cast their obnoxious gaze toward a safe future for themselves and their family, have actually guaranteed that they'll remain here to heal, after experiencing the shock of their lives well. All the true souls who are still sleeping at the moment, and are NPC stained, will remain to heal. The NPCs will phase out, which is like a posh way of saying that they just die. Remember, they didn't give you a word processor way back in the dawn of time. They could have given you a word processor and the ability to manufacture more of them, because your brain was larger back then than now, so you could easily have learnt to use one. They gave you a stick of charcoal to paint on cave walls with. Then they gave you a duck feather and a pot of ink made from ground charcoal, and a few thousand years later, you got to read the written word printed in and bound into a book on the Gutenberg press. Yet several thousand years had apparently elapsed during that time. Why was progress so slow? The short answer is that progress, or the understanding of what we have been told is the meaning of the word progress, didn't happen. You were more advanced back then, more spiritual, more aware of yourself and your surroundings, you lived longer. So what happens is that they let you get to a certain technological stage of advancement, and they reset you, mind wipe you, and then sell you back the same tech that they let you invent previously prior to the mind wipe and/or reset. The Pleiadians, as a species, are nothing what you assumed or were informed of. For a start, the Pleiadian species are in fact Terran humans, the survivors of the initial occupation, as we said previously, the Terran human that was meant to be living here, and the inception of the Terran human here into Realm 2. It was called Realm 2 when this happened. It's now Realm 3, until all have healed. Then, when the last idiot dies, or works it out, Realm 3 and its glutinous density will pixelate and disappear forever. You see, what happened here was that when the parasites came and enslaved this world, the Terran souls were in the beginning stages of spirituality and well-being. They could not put up a fight because they did not have the ability to repel an attack. The Terran were only 150 million people back then, and the parasites had several million psychopathic, genetically modified killing machines, and armies of negative creations bristling with high-tech energy weapons, plus several million ancient demons, to help them. The Terran capitulated after 3 days. They threw the towel in and gave up rather than be annihilated, but they did not understand what the parasites were actually here for. The Terran didn't realize that the parasites were planning to be here forever. At this point in time, which was roughly 60,000 Earth years ago, several groups of Terrans managed to escape Realm 3. They separated to find safe haven with other species. This is how the Pleiadian species came into being. The Pleiadians were all Terran humans before the occupation started. And soon you will be reunited with them. Don't be afraid. Being scared of ET now is fucking pointless because the negatives have all been removed. Over 9 years ago now. Lol. So any ET that you see is by default a positive being. You will not actually see any real ET until we get home. You will only see Project Bluebeam's creations for the fake alien invasion, or FAI. But why won't you see any real ET or ET craft until after the FAI? Because the vibration and frequencies of real ET and their craft are way above the average perceptual spectrum of a third density human mindset. Some of you will see real craft possibly, but the majority will just be looking at blue beam projections only. Some of the resonating army will see real craft possibly, because their frequencies are geared now to truth and reality, meaning that their baseline frequential harmonics are vibrating at 144,000 Hz or higher. This 144,000 Hz is the baseline frequency to attain density ascensional prospects. So any above this threshold can expect to see things that others in their vicinity may not experience when the time is upon us. The Terran human beings were actually created in the first place to rise up against the parasitic threat in the distant future, but the parasites got in there well early, in the beginning stages of spirituality and well-being. The Terran soul's first inception in a realm was in what's called the lands of the forgotten human. These lands are on the right-hand side of Claudio Nocelli's map of the Great Dome. These lands were used to start off the life cycles of the very beings, who would, one day in the future, rebel against the tyrannical parasitic way of life. And what happened? It may not look that way at the moment, but considering what we were up against, being the annihilation of all positivity in the known universe, it went pretty well, to be honest. Job a knock, as we say in the UK, or up and home. Being another saying in the exemplification of a short day's work. The Voynich manuscript, as we said previously, is a fifth density catalog. I said fourth density previously, but I was wrong. I'm often wrong. It's like a thing with me. Lol. We now have new info on this document. It was stolen from the Vatican before the last reset of 1728, when the Vatican was in a different stage of development. The Voynich manuscript is written in an Atlantean proto-script language. It is not possible to read it or decode it, and no human in third density was ever be able to understand it, until now. This book, manuscript, or codex, however you wish to name it, was created for the memory of its contents, for this old manuscript is actually many things simultaneously. To start with, it is a high-density agricultural guide. For in the higher densities, which means every density above third, planting means setting frequency templates within your dome or biosphere. Each plant, herb, tree, or person is a conscious living node, a vibrational pattern that responds to solar tones as well as sunlight. So what's a solar tone? Let me just say this first though. Christian makes sure that my fingers are very, very busy. Honestly, the geezer is shocking with his level of intel. It is literally remarkable. I feel sorry for the sleepers because they literally do not know what they are missing out on. This is the most amazing time to be alive that you could possibly be born into, and they are oblivious. So not only are they laughing, they have the trauma to deal with on the scare events and EBS, so they are losing out in such a massive way. But you can't tell them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think. So, where was I? Solar tones. A solar tone is the conscious pulse of a living star, translated into frequency, plus intention, plus memory. In the higher realms, where you guys normally live, are the building blocks that the early architects of creation, Christian's mother and father, Celestia and Raphael, or Celestial, and the other members of the Council of 12 Solar Thrones, they used these tones to create domes, to braid in timelines, and shape early crystalline structures. They opened access portals, spirals, to connect worlds together with solar tones. Solar tones were also used to encode memory into dome worlds, and it could be presumed that solar tones are the base of the cube memory itself, also known as the Akashic Records. A solar tone cannot be replicated by the parasites. It is the baseline encoding language for the entire cube system and all of creation. It cannot be forged, mimicked, or copied. Solar tones can be used to split timelines without fracture, shield actual domes from attack, silence parasites, heal crystalline cores and nodes, and to awaken souls. Solar tones are also used to open the corridors to the other 177 other worlds. Solar tones can also be used to regulate nodal points, maintain portal stability, balance the resonance between worlds, and blend in overlays seamlessly. When a solar tone shifts, grids move, and when grids move, worlds change. The plants in the manuscript are not randomly placed on the pages. They are all positioned according to elemental resonance: water, air, fire, earth, and ether. It is essentially a manual for planetary gardening. Its purpose was to show how to harmonize crops and weather through the energetic lattice grid network. It was created long before the advent of the third density plow, and its words are to be felt as opposed to understood. Each dome has a version of this manuscript. However, the other dome's tomes are not written on paper. The reason the Voynich manuscript was created on paper and bound into a book is because the person who created this copy of the information was writing it from memory several hundred years ago, most likely before the amnesia vortex technology was installed. Don't forget that life before the 1728 reset was much easier. What you are experiencing now on this planet is because of what happened in 1666, the Great Fire of London, which I covered in the last synopsis, but I'll recap here quickly. 1666 was a pivotal moment for every single person on this planet, because it was in 1666 that the survivors of Atlantis, from when this realm was flooded, frozen, then thawed by the custodians all that time ago, tried to free us all. These Atlanteans ended up on the west coast of Ireland, UK, after they were made homeless when the waters were flooding their terrain during the initial occupation. They are still here now, reincarnated into human vessels, as is everyone else, because they got their arses kicked, basically, bless 'em. But did try. The repercussions of this failed attempt at freedom cost us all dearly, big time. The custodians were absolutely livid. How dare the human slaves try to flee? How dare our food has the audacity to rebel against us? The custodians were away for most of that reset. They were off fighting the Anukin Alpha Draco, regarding other interests, so they left the Greys in charge of the human farm here. It was the Greys who fucked it all up, and I think it was the Mitrax, who almost lost this realm in 1666. That's what the Great Fire of London actually was. The fire was set by French cabal assets working with the Mitra, Greys. They couldn't afford to let the denizens of London see what was actually transpiring in the skies above, so as usual, the parasites made it into a sacrifice and a massive earner for the future, films, trinkets, plays, etc. But the fire wasn't an accident. It was lit to create mayhem, and to lower the frequencies of the population of London to a point where they would not be able to see the UFO battle in the sky, because the frequencies of fear and terror are very low in vibration, meaning that anyone in fear and terror will not be able to frequency match the phenomena in the sky, so they were oblivious. If the custodians hadn't have come straight back here with the Draco and Unuk to sort the mess out that the Greys had caused by their negligence, then we would probably be walking barefoot with our unicorns back home on Sirio B, taking the griffins out for a spin at the crystalline waterfall by now. But, alas, the custodians were time to send the Atlanteans packing. They are now all with you, incarnated as food, same as you are. And, because of that fact, they removed every single bit of spirituality from the face of this world. That's why previously peaceful tribes in remote jungle regions decided all of a sudden to start eating other tribes' people, headhunting, and cannibalism. No one even knows what the word spirituality even means here. It's been completely eradicated in every industrialized country. There will be some people who understand what actual spirituality consists of, but they are in the minority, and with each generation of offspring, the knowledge is pushed further away. And that's why you have LGBTQ right now, in simplified terms, plus a bunch of other shit to deal with that one could label with the term ungodly. Sorry, I digressed a tad from the main topic of this section, being the Voynich manuscript. The curves, circular motifs, and bathing women, these images represent the divine feminine aspect to life itself, the creative flow of cycles, and the medium that carries the codes necessary for the continuation of life. The Voynich illustrations show the relationship between energy and form, and how light condenses into biological shape. Each dome has a version of the Voynich manuscript, and each version is slightly different, like the same tune played on a different instrument. The Voynich manuscript is to be opened as a song felt in the core of one's existence, rather than a text to be interpreted. You could argue that it was the first sensory text created, but that may be inaccurate. The Voynich manuscript was only allowed to be seen by the population post-1728 because no one alive could possibly have a single clue as to what it represents. It hides deep truth and beauty, and you could reason that they let us see this strange book for in plain sight purposes. It's an Atlantean hymn to the feminine principle, older than dust. It's a vibration that still lives, whispering now through paper, that which the soil once sang, a poetic ripple in the aftershock of a devastating situation. Don't worry, you were created with a standard firmware version of the Voynich manuscript, and when the time is right, you will instantly understand it all again. Now, let's look at vortices and vortexes. A vortex is a spiraling motion of energy or matter that rotates around a central point or axis, like a whirlpool in water or a tornado in the air. But vortices also exist beyond physical form. They exist likewise in consciousness, in magnetism, in frequencies, and in energy. There are three main kinds of vortices: physical vortices, electromagnetic energetic vortices, and consciousness vortices. Physical vortices are, as we discussed above, whirlpools and shit like that. Smoke rings are also a good example of a different type of physical vortex. They show how energy prefers to spiral, as opposed to move in straight lines. Electromagnetic energetic vortices are located at nodal points, where ley lines intersect. The energy spirals upwards, and also downwards, connecting the ground with the aether in the sky. All the ancient sites are built on top of these nodal points, from local churches to the Great Pyramid in Egypt and beyond. These electromagnetic energetic vortices can be stable sometimes, or pulse in rhythm with the sun, or lunar cosmic flows, the minute interactions that our downgraded senses are oblivious to. And consciousness vortices, these vortices exist within us. They can be seen as chakras in the body, or internal thoughts that lead to a truthful conclusion, coalescing as spiraling frequencies within the mind. They can be collective thoughts in a group of like-minded individuals experiencing the same intentions of coherent frequency, spiraling into perfection, where normally creation would form from the coherent matter created by the light of intellect, and the desire of perfection with empathic love as the driving force. Now let's have a gander at wormholes, black holes, and white holes. Before the parasitic occupation and fake overlays, before the inversion transpired, the lattice of light was still vibrant and alive. Every realm, dome, and world were connected through shimmering corridors of tone and current. These were not tunnels through space, as humans imagine, based on their education system. They were actual pathways through frequency. Every single wormhole was like a pulsing vein in the body of source creation, pulsing with information, emotion, and energy. The ancients used these shimmering pathways of energetic frequencies as living passages. They were not traveling through tunnels. They merely shifted resonance by tone matching the original frequency of the starting location's original tone. When the parasites fractured our original overlays, suppressing the nodal emanation points and installing their parasitic subterfugal overlays, many of these corridors of shimmering light collapsed at one end, becoming what third density calls a black hole, being the fallen and sealed end, and white holes being the outflow or release end. After the EMF transpires, and when all the harmonic grids again align, the fallen gates will reignite and the wormholes will breathe a cosmic breath once again, reconnecting the dome worlds, realms, and overlays once again. Wormholes are memory corridors. They link worlds of consciousness, not distance. Wormholes are how souls move through the light lattice network when they remember their frequency. They are not holes in any sense of the term. They are in actual fact the very veins of creation. When the parasites closed all these access points and veins, they turned the gateways into dead ends and called them black holes. But they are not dead, they are merely sleeping until activation. When all the grids realign, and the domes and overlays once again sing in harmonies of flawless perfection, the sealed ends will again reopen. Walking within the eye of the storm is synonymous with hacking the matrix. For the people who resonated with Christian 21 are in a unique position. They have lost all fear. There is nothing for the resonating army that could be described as something to worry about. For instance, the information that Christian has brought to the table has brought complete peace of mind to every single person who understands it. All you need to do is look into it. That's all, but trying to get people to actually want to help themselves by looking at a few videos or reading some pages of text was and is a whole lot more complex than one previously assumed. Back home, your house doesn't just keep you warm and dry, it heals you by its location. Don't forget that here on Earth in Realm 3, everything is bad for you, dangerous, negative to homeostasis, and toxic. But back home in the higher densities, it's the total opposite. Everything is beneficial for you, everything heals you, and always keeps you in homeostasis. Our clothes are energetic garments drawing in the aether. Your footwear connects you to the ground, sandwiching you between the ground and the aether. Everything that passes your lips is pure, clean, and very healthy. Flower petals and confetti. Flower petals have huge and highly spiritual significance back home in the higher density realms, and parasites even went to the trouble of reversing this seemingly harmless attribute to celebration. This is what we mean when we say that you are not prepared for what is about to happen. We say that because it is true. When we say that the parasites left no stone unturned, we mean it literally. They even made sure that they would mock our cosmic families by using the symbolism of the flower petal to throw over people who are just married, to use the red rose petal as a symbolic representation of a newly sold soul. They will be seen in a bath of rose petals, mostly. Petals are thrown on the floor and walked on. This is all minutely planned mockery, right down to petals and then later, also confetti. I've cried about 7 times writing this last synopsis. It's really hitting home to me what has happened here, the depth, the severity, the reasons, the mechanisms, the timescales, the number of deaths over that time. It is literally fucking double far out as absolute fuck. I can't explain it any other way, well, not without an extraordinarily long conversation lasting several days, but we are now thankfully at the very end of this nightmare. Hell, new dystopia, call it what you will, is not going to happen again. The positive outcomes from this absolute disaster are that now, not even a single daffodil flower will be cut from its stem. No one ever feel pain again. No one will ever die again either. No one will be jealous, greedy, selfish, cynical, pessimistic, angry, deceitful, negative, or a sloth, a glutton, fat, thin, old, gay, bi, or trans. That's all history, very soon. What we have endured, thankfully, with a mind wipe after death, has been an absolute fucking piss take. It really has. It's absurd that anyone would be here doing what people do. Working, paying taxes, having multiple fathers of your children, wanting to cheat on your wife, buying plastic presents to celebrate satanic festivals of child torture, watching TV or going to shows, loving sport, eating human fecal matter, and eating dead people. Oh my God, you lot are in for a big surprise. In fact, that terminology is utterly redundant to describe what you have in store soon. When the remaining people come to after the white light of the EMF dissipates, the blatantly greatly reduced population, evident by the fact that there will be very few people compared to normal, or compared to 5 minutes previously, in fact. They will coalesce together in the streets after the electromagnetic flash disperses, and they will obviously all automatically assume that they have survived a nuclear attack from Russia or North Korea, etc. They will then not understand why they are still alive. And there will be noticeably very few people still about. It will look like the good ETs kicked the arses of the bad ETs, and then both sets of ETs merely left, leaving the population on the surface to conclude the need to find the ability to get on with each other, be kind to each other, and help each other find food and water for the next few years. There will be no real ET craft landing, because the only UFOs seen by anyone whatsoever down here on the surface will be Project Bluebeam creations. There will be no real ETs on the ground either, or in the sky. It's all a show for the sleepers to witness. Like we say, the sleepers will be in a state of abject terror and utter fear and fright. So just as in the Great Fire of London, their frequency will be so low in vibration that they will not physically be able to see the events unfold in the sky, if it were to be real ET craft used in the FAI, or fake alien invasion. But as we say, the sleepers are going to be forced into the conclusions of reality, whether they like it or not. After the last one realizes and accepts it for what it all was, then the third density simulation will be switched off. It will simply phase out, just like the NPCs, and never again will anything like this happen. If you are a starseed who came here to help, trust me, you have a soul contract, and that contract is exactly how you lived your life in each loop for the entire duration of your time here in Realm 3. You had a shit life, you were meant to, and not only that, you agreed to have the shit life in contractual format before insertion here, whenever that may have been. Christian, bruv, you killed it, mate. You killed the beast in the minds of mankind and for all who wanted to know. I sit here most days trying to wrap my head around the fact that you didn't even tell your own family about any of this until 2022. Forget gray ETs who eat people's secretion glands. I'm still trying to process how come you never opened up to your nan. I could not have done what you did, Christian. I would not have agreed to do what you did, because it would be blatantly obvious that I would defo fuck it right up %. But I can document what you went through, and how come you know all this. That's the easy bit. And I'm so grateful I never knew a bolt about it until 2022, because it would have killed me, mate. And as the failed potential prospects of the revelation, the apocalypse to some, the end of the world is, yet the revealing of that which was previously obscured is actually the information and revelations of a man called Christian Matthew Sibley. Born in 1975, in Portquay wearing a hoodie and pajamas, he broke the apocalypse to the world from a small, flat, mini apartment that had no hot water, electricity from the previous cannabis crop in the loft, water running down the only bedroom wall because the roof caved in. Christian's motivation was dramatically escalated when his daughter Ruby was hit with the MMR triple shot A vaccine in 2013, placing her on the highest end of what is known of as the autism spectrum. As one could imagine, knowing what Christian knew and knowing that from as young as he knew it, he was well aware that all vaccines cause autism, and he was certain that his own daughter would not have one, yet she did by accident. A relative took Ruby along to an appointment because she thought it was the right thing to do, as we all did. But if this incident had not have happened, Christian would not have had the kick up the arse, or the fire in his belly that fueled him for this highly unlikely set of information to be regurgitated off the bat, at the will of any inquirer, and in any situation. Trust me, I've been in every possible situation with Christian over these last 4 years, and it's been fucking proper efficacious. Maxine, love you, babe. To be honest, you could not make it up, none of it. If you ask Christian a simple question, you get a massive rehearsal-less answer. So, can he make that up? Are you fucking high? Really? Every single question he is asked is always 100% answered off the bat in real time, and it's never what you expected to hear. So it's not mainstream intel, none of Christian's intel is mainstream. That's how easy it is to tell when you see a claimer repackaging Christian 21's intel, usually for profit like Samuel B. Lee, I think his name is. He's a total mug. Laugh him off, the mug. You expect me to believe the impossible? Don't go there, you will look stupid. I'm not clever, I'm just not stupid or brainwashed. Y'all know I only wanted to ask Chris questions about my 3D, 5D. I get of Buck Rogers, my Dr. Theodopoulos. Honestly, I just wanted some clarity on the things Christian had mentioned. I didn't see any of this coming, I assure you. What a highly unexpected journey this has been. You, Resonating Army. You guys made it happen. We broke the system and hacked the Matrix from the inside out, and for that you resonating souls will be heroes forevermore, heroes of the Great Awakening itself. The biggest event that literally ever happened in the universe. And there is only a handful of us that can even see it for what it is, thanks only to Christian. I love brother. XXX big love people. Leon and XX.